Welcome back. Today I am going to show you how to make my favorite red sauce. It's easy. We know exactly what's in it. It freezes wonderfully. And the best part, the protein's already built right in. If you're new here, my name is Brandy. Come along with me and I'll show you how to make this awesome marinara sauce. Now, I edited this recipe from Good Cheap Eats. It is linked in the description down below. I tweaked it just a little bit to make it my own. And my favorite part of this recipe is how the addition of such a small ingredient can make such a huge difference. So stay to the end so you can be in on the secret too. Now, Good Cheap Eats says that you can freeze this sauce in glass mason jars. And I will tell you that I tried this exactly once. And it did not matter how carefully I put those jars into the freezer, I ended up losing about a gallon of red sauce. So I did find just these little plastic, they're sort of like mason jars. They hold about a quart of liquid or solid as well. They are not dishwasher safe, but for the price and for the function, I don't mind. I can wash one jar by hand at a shot or two, worst case scenario. So these are the ones that I use. I'll have those down in the description box for you so that if you're interested, you can go ahead and grab those. Our first step is to brown off our ground beef. I've got 2 pounds here. My pan is warming up as we speak. We'll go ahead and get that cooked off, drain the fat off, and put it in a bowl off to the side. So while the ground beef is cooking, I wanted to let you know, the recipe calls for tomato puree. I realized I didn't have tomato puree. I do have whole peeled tomatoes. You don't need to run to the store. Throw these in the blender and now they're tomatoes that have been pureed. Just remember to use what you have. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss them in the blender real quick. We'll end up with tomato puree and we can go ahead and move on. Ground beef is finished. Onion is our next step. So you're gonna go ahead and chop your onion down, small chop. It doesn't need to be a dice. I've got my tomato puree, my small diced tomato. Our next step is gonna be to get a good sized pot. And into the pot, you're gonna put a little bit of oil once your pot gets hot. Our next step is to get your saucepan. Go ahead and get it on heat, okay? So I've got mine, it looks like medium high, more or less. Let it get hot. Pour just a little bit of a drizzle of olive oil in there. Let that oil get hot. And then we're gonna put in 2 teaspoons of garlic, minced garlic, or 2 garlic cloves, and your onion. We're gonna cook those, 5 to 7 minutes until they get translucent. We're gonna mix those onions and garlic pretty often just to make sure that nothing happens that they don't burn. All right, our onions and garlic are just about where we want them. From here, we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. So we've got 3 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. A little more than a pinch, so a generous pinch of crushed red pepper and about a half a tablespoon of kosher salt. Now, if you like more or less, that's what's so great about this. It's just very easily customizable. And then we've got our puree we made a little bit ago and a 28-ounce can of diced tomato. We're just gonna pour in there as well. And that was not very graceful, was it? All right, from there, go ahead and turn your heat down some if you're still on medium-high to medium. And you want that to go ahead and come up to a boil before we turn it down to simmer. Any water that you'd like to add right now is where you're gonna do that. So just gauge your sauce and see how thick or thin that is compared to where you want it. And guys, it's finally time for the secret ingredient. All right, okay, I don't wanna say you're never gonna guess because then you're gonna guess right away. But beef base or beef bouillon. I use the base. Let me see if I can get this in the camera for you. So this is the base. It's kind of more of a cream base than a granule. And so it's already dissolved into this cream, as it were. I like it a lot better. It's a lot easier to work with. And so I've got about 2 teaspoons of beef base right here. We're just gonna go ahead and put that in there. And what this is gonna do is really give it a flavor that it spent the entire day on the stove top. You and I know that it didn't, but no one else needs to know, right? Just go ahead and mix that up into your sauce. And it'll take it just a minute as it's getting warm to go ahead and break down in there. Don't worry about that at all. Like I said, add the water that you want. And then after this is sort of all mixed in, you can go ahead and add your red meat right back to it. Oh my gosh, guys, my mouth started watering, I'm so sorry. It already has that beefy smell to it, like it's been simmering already for a couple hours. We're gonna go ahead and put our beef back in, and that's just another project. That's dinner I've got in the oven right now. I added about 2 cups water to my red sauce. Now we're gonna let it boil, turn it down to simmer so it can thicken up a little bit, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, I had put the lid on the sauce to go ahead and simmer, and then quickly realized I had forgotten a can of tomato puree. So I went ahead and added that, and we have been simmering for about 25 minutes. So we are starting to thicken up, you can see. It is becoming just a little more all together. And I was wondering why it seemed like I had so much more meat than I needed, but the way that it is cooked now with that extra can really made a difference. So while we're finishing up here, I wanted to touch base with you. So because you can cool and then freeze this, it just makes for a really great, easy dinner. If you are getting ready to go to bed and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about dinner tomorrow, and it's gonna be so busy, right? At that point, you can just go run to the freezer, grab it, put it in the fridge, and it's ready tomorrow night for dinner. Boil some noodles, bow. You know, you've got a salad, everything's ready to go. So you know I like to have you set up for success when it comes to meal planning and meal prep. I mean, this doesn't really match into what we always think about when we think of meal prep. We want a complete meal a lot of the time, but when you have these building blocks that you can add a salad and a pasta to, and it's done. Or, you know, I'm getting ready to put it in my spaghetti squash lasagna bake. All I'll have to do is bake that and we're finished there too. And so to have some of these staples on hand all the time so that you've got a plan for when you don't have a plan, that is really success. All right, and now the moment we've been waiting for. This is the finished product. And you can keep it in your mason jar in the refrigerator for 5 days or so. Or like I said, wait until it cools, put it in a plastic container, put it in the freezer, and there it'll keep for several months. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell so you don't miss a single video. And if this added value to your everyday life, hit that thumbs up. We'll see you next time.